This is the Huskers Sports Network.
All right, folks. Got about 5-6 minute break here. If anybody has a question for Coach after he recovers from that segment.
No, I like to go up on the Snake River by Valentine. That's a good trout stream. It's a heck of a deep canyon, though, and to get down in there is tough. Some people go down on ropes, and the older I get, the harder that is. But I like that. I like the Black Hills. I go up there and fish, and don't see any other fishermen all day. Sometimes below McConaughey, I like to fly fish. Really good trout fishing there. Like to go to Alaska. I go there about once a year if I can. So those are the main places. And I go up to Wahi and South Dakota a lot. Mostly salmon, sometimes walleyes. That's me. But I enjoy fishing. Usually make a trip about annually down in the Bahamas or Costa Rica or someplace, fish for bonefish. It's fun. Yeah. Guys have anything about football or anything like that? The fishing questions are easy for me. Yes, sir. Well, Brooke and I shared an interest in hunting and fishing, and so I have a little piece of land up here northwest of town, and he wanted to know if he could go hunting, and I said sure. And he went up there, and next day comes back. He's got a picture. He shot a coyote. He called it in, shot it, and but we talked a lot about hunting and fishing. Probably more time doing that than talking about X's and O's. But he was a guy that. I spent a lot of time with the quarterbacks because I met with them every day. And so I was very close to those guys. And Brooke, because of all the interests we shared, were particularly close. And so he's a guy that when he died, it was almost like losing a son, in a way. And so I always remember him. And the thing about Brooke was that he, because of the kind of person he was, his death had a huge impact on our football team. Because when you're that age, you always think you're going to live forever. And then all of a sudden, when somebody that's your age dies, it really impacts you. And so there's a lot of guys who did a lot of soul searching after that as to, what life was all about, what their life meant. And but his death was very impactful. But a lot of good memories. I stay in touch with his family, Jan Beringer, talk to her. And so I'm glad we have that award for him because he was a special guy. Yeah. Anything else you want to ask about? You didn't know there were so many commercials, did you? Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, there weren't very many mountaintop experiences in politics. Some of the things that I really remember and treasure is when I see a guy that I thought probably didn't have a very good prognosis long term in terms of the trajectory, the direction his life was going, and then run into him, and all of a sudden, different guy. Jimmy Williams was one of those guys, a walk-on player from back in the Washington, D.C. area, and he came out here, became a great player, All-American player. And for some reason at the end, he wouldn't talk to people. He was kind of estranged. And I went up to Minnesota Vikings training camp, and he was up there. And I saw Jimmy walking down the walk toward me, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if he'd even speak to me. he comes up and he throws his arms around me, and it's like we're long lost brothers or something. But no, Jimmy just kind of changed his life around, and he still calls me today. He's coaching down in the Southeast, and he calls about once a week, and we talk about different things. And so those relationships are very important. And so often you see a guy that you didn't think was going to turn out very well, and it's amazing how many of them at some point, maybe they're 30, maybe they're 40, maybe they're 50 years old, all of a sudden something kicks in, and they become different people. So that's, the wins and losses, those obviously were important, and probably beating Miami in Miami, coming back from behind in the fourth quarter, that was important because kind of got people away from the idea that, well, we couldn't win the big one. You didn't have to keep answering that question. I never was worried about it. I knew we could win the big one, but so, okay. You're tired of answering the question, though.
Welcome back to the T.O. Show, brought to you by T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, a tradition of trust since 1947. We appreciate Kevin Raymakers joining us on the Verizon Guest Hotline, powered by Nokia Siemens Networks, and thanks to Doak Ostergaard as well. Tom Osborne here live on the main stage with our studio audience, also online at Huskers.com. I'm Jeff Culhane. Let's bring our next guest up as he's hiding in the there he is. There he is. He's got his Nebraska staff jacket on. Jack Pierce, ladies and gentlemen. Give Jack a round of applause.
I came tonight because I thought it was wear your old coaching jacket night.
Okay.
Not the old coach being paid tribute to. So I wore the first jacket Tom gave me when I came to coach here in '78. How does it look?
The body in the coat has changed. The coat hasn't changed.
Yeah, a lot of wear and tear on that from you.
Off-campus recruiting coordinator for a number of years on coach's staff here at Nebraska. You've got to have plenty of stories on the road, plenty of conversations about prospective student athletes and talking in living rooms with Coach about bringing some of the great guys here.
He's not very funny. I've had him in a million spots where I thought he could have made been a stand-up comedian, and he never took the bait.
Okay. So where are you going with that, Jack?
Well, I tell you what, Tom, every time I see, Tom hired me again after all these years. I'm back working at the athletic department. It's kind of fun. He got me in a good position. But Tom always tells me how he saved my life all these times, from Bear Bryant and all those people. The other night I had a dream, and I saw a big St. Bernard with Tom's head on the St. Bernard, saving my life with a big bucket of whiskey underneath it. And then I knew it couldn't be true because Tom doesn't like St. Bernards.
Okay, Jack.
No. I owe this guy a lot. He's been a great teacher and a great coach, and gave me the opportunity to come up here and experience the good life. And I'll never ever be able to repay him for that. But we had some good times on the road too. He always thought he was a baton in a relay race where one coach would pass him off to another. Complained about that a lot. God. Gene Huey, remember that down in Houston? When you said, yeah, where are we going to meet? We met in some parking lot. I said, here, Gene, he's yours. Go.
Well, the problem was that, you'd have to see 4 or 5 kids in one day in maybe 4 or 5 different communities. And so we were going fast and handing off. I thought I'd tell you how Jack got here. And we got a call from Anniston, Alabama, a guy named Jack Pierce, whom I had never met. And he said he'd like to send some film up on a player. So we said, okay. Looked at the film. Guy was a good player. And we said, well, we're interested in him. And what had happened was this particular player had signed a conference letter of intent with Alabama. That was before they eliminated the conference letters of intent. And so we said we liked him, and so Jack said, well, come on down and see him. And so we went down, and the guy signed with us. That did not go over well in Alabama. What had happened was that I think the University of Alabama had told them that they were only going to sign 1 or 2 backs, and they signed a whole bunch of them. And so he wanted to come up here. Well, the upshot of that, since Jack had sent us the film, was that Bear Bryant had enough clout down there to get Jack fired from his job. I mean, they play hardball in Alabama. So all of a sudden I got this good player, and I also got Jack on my conscience.
A mediocre guy.
And I've had him on my conscience ever since.
This is a guy who's talking right now that when I came here and used to watch him run around the field after practice, had a pair of warm-ups that came halfway up his leg. I mean, never had a pair of warm-ups that fit. He was the head coach at the University of Nebraska. Wouldn't give you a pair of pants that fit.
We had a tight budget. And we're supposed to have a break right now.
I don't know. We got people yelling at us in our ear to take a break. Final before we let you go. Final thoughts for Coach?
I just thank him for taking all the kids I recruited. He never asked a question about them.
We had good players, and we had a lot of interesting stories. And now we've got Jack back. He's dealing with farmers on a daily basis on the grain issues. And he doesn't know anything about farming, But he's out there kicking tires, tractor tires, talking about yields, fertilizer, and he's acting like he knows.
I bring him out to do an ad. There's a combine. I almost got run over by the combine with the ad going on, just paying attention to make sure his lines were right. But no, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I thank him. We're going to have a lot of fun here with the grain program, and I appreciate you guys having me on. South Dakota kid.
Mitchell, South Dakota. That's right.
I spent a week one night in Mitchell.
Yes, but you did.
Yeah.
A lot of bad checks from you, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's too.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Pierce, a big round of applause. We'll take a short break, come back with our final segment next.